All right, and 7-17, and again I've just changed the numbers to kind of make this work and show you guys without doing it exactly like yours. But this is one of those where just set it up, take your time and make sure that you set this up properly, and then the Excel and the spreadsheet kind of does the work for you if you follow along. So what I've said in this case is that I've got sales of $100,000, and that's given, right? And then it says my cost of goods sold, and I believe that just gives me a percentage there, and it says the selling cost will be 74% of sales. I'll call that cost of goods sold, right? And I used 79%. So for this number, I really have to say that it's equal to my 79% times my sales, okay, which gives me a gross profit, okay. And so after that, I have to calculate the other things. I'm going to have some accounts that are uncollectible at 6%, and I'm going to have, that's what I'm using is 6%. I'm going to have additional collection costs of 3%. So keep in mind that these are based on the sales figures. It's 6% of the sales will be uncollectible. It's 3% of the sales that will be my collection costs. So in this case, I'm gonna put these in as a negative number, okay? Times again my sales, and minus my 3% times my sales, okay? And I could put these in as positive numbers as long as I remembered then to subtract, and I have to add now, and so it's almost as difficult, but come up and hit my sum, and I don't want all of those, I just want to sum those. Should be about 12,000, right? Okay, so I would show a profit at this point of 12,000, but I'm in a 40% tax bracket for me, and so I've entered my 40% there. Now my 40% is of my earnings before taxes, right? It's not of my sales, it's of my earnings before taxes. So, oops, sorry, let me escape out of there. So for that, again, I'm going to enter it as a negative. I'll just take my 40% times my earnings before taxes. And I get 4,800, which then, again, I sum those up, just those two, and it gives me a net income of $7,200. And that's compute the incremental income after taxes, and that's what that means is net income. Okay, and then it asks me what will Johnson's incremental return on sales be if these new credit customers are accepted. So my net income is this, and the return on sales, okay, return on anything is net income divided by whatever that anything is. So it's simply, right, is equal to return on, which is net income divided by, it says return on sales, so I come up and divide it by my sales. So 7.2%. Okay, then it gets a little more complicated. It says if the receivable turnover ratio for your guys is 3-to-1 and no other asset buildup is needed to serve the new customers, what will Johnson's incremental return on the new average investment be? So I used a receivable turnover of 4. Okay, 4-to-1. So it means my receivables will turn over 4 times, right? And in a year. Okay, so I need to know then what my average receivables are going to be, because that's what I'll have to finance, right, or pay for in some fashion, either through a loan or through capital, whichever the case may be. So if my receivable turnover is 4, then to find what my accounts receivable is, it's just simply going to be my sales divided by my receivable turnover. Okay, so in my case, it's going to be $25,000. That's the added investment that I need in order to take on these questionable accounts, right? And they're questionable because I don't know, even though I'd make 7.2%. Now what's that for a return on investment? Well, my investment is this 25 grand. I got to come up with another 25 grand somehow. If I borrow that from the bank, and that's likely, I'll have to pay them, maybe in today's day and age, 5, 6, 7%. In our book and some of the figures they're using, maybe 10 or 12%, right? Well, I need to know then if my return on my investment is going to exceed that. Okay, so that's simply a matter then of saying that this is equal to what my net income, because I'm return on investment, divided by, in this case, what would be my investment in accounts receivable, and I'd end up with 28.8. Okay, great return. Okay, that would be fantastic. So even if I had to borrow money from the bank for 15%, it would make a lot of sense to do this particular project. So that'll do her.